A bob hat bought in cold Welsh water helped fund Christmas and a future for children in Kenya. Welcome to the Dunkers Podcast, and today's episode is a little bit special. I'm Mark Pedley, known as the Hoff down here in Abersoch, and the Dunkers Podcast is thrilled to participate in this fourth edition of Podcasthon. For 1 week, thousands of podcasts will highlight a charity of their choice, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming New Hope Children's Home. Podcasthon 26 is a global podcast event speaking to charities and good causes across the world, and we wanted to tell a story that starts in cold water but ends somewhere much warmer. Back in June 2025, we welcomed today's guest, Colin Dalton, to the Dunkers Podcast. Colin is the UK champion for New Hope Children's Home in Kenya, a charity doing extraordinary work through care, education and long-term opportunity. Since then, something brilliant has happened. Our Dunkers community created a New Hope bob hat, which raised Christmas funds for the children, with 1 or 2 Dunkers providing support to their brand new computer lab, and now there's a school uniform appeal about to launch as we go into 2026. This episode isn't about charity as an idea. It's about charity as a relationship between communities, continents, and people who may never ever meet, but who are deeply connected. So grab yourself a brew, wrap up warm, and let's dive through the chilly Abersoch waters to discover what's happening in New Hope. Colin, welcome. How have you been keeping?
Very well, thanks, Mark, and thanks for inviting us back again. It's lovely to be here.
Well, it was a pleasure having you the first time, and this time we've got a New Hope focus, haven't we?
Indeed, indeed.
So I hear you've been doing a bit of travelling. Not that that's a surprise to you, I'm sure.
We've done a little bit of travelling. We've, since we went back after the end of the summer from Abersoch, we've done a little bit of skiing, which has been very nice. And shortly we're heading off to Southeast Asia. And then after that, it's the big trip to Kenya.
Brilliant. I was going to say, I hear you're off to Kenya again. So this Podcasthon 26 is serendipitously heaven sent, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the last podcast, you were telling me off air before we actually started recording, that last podcast created opened quite a few different doors for New Hope. Just tell us a bit about that.
We love coming to Abersoch and we love the whole community here. And the way that people responded to the last podcast was amazing. We've had people offering to sponsor children, asking how they can get involved, talking about doing their own sponsored events to raise money. And on top of that, we did the sale of the bobble hats, where every single penny that we made from the Dunkers bobble hats went to New Hope and went for Christmas trees. So a whole host of different sort of feelings of community and engagement and just generally outpouring of love, I guess, would probably be the kindest way of putting it. It's just been amazing. It takes your breath away. People's response to us sitting and chatting for 40 minutes has been amazing.
It's amazing what they put in the coffee in the morning, isn't it?
It must be that, yes.
I was going to say, that's where our regular coffee and chat starts.
Yeah.
So let's get under the skin of New Hope a little bit more, if we can, because this whole episode is about New Hope. What is New Hope, and why is New Hope specifically the solution that was needed at that time? Okay,
so if we start off with the why is New Hope needed, it's probably simpler. So in Kenya, similar population to the UK, so 50, 60 million, there or thereabouts. Typically, at any one time, there's 3 million orphans. So the percentage of orphans in Kenya is massive. Now, obviously, AIDS and HIV had a big impact on the whole of Africa, and Kenya didn't escape that. So in terms of the driver, there's a pure numbers game in terms of the number of children without family to raise them and without parents to raise them. New Hope was set up, I'm going to say 2002, by Anne and Tyrus Chege in Kenya. It's 40 kilometres north of Nairobi. So they do get children from the Nairobi slums, and the local authorities and the police, etc., will bring children that need somewhere to live to New Hope. There is no provision of social services like we'd expect in the UK. So if someone's orphaned in the UK, there's somewhere to go. Even if, it might not be quite what we'd all want, right, there is somewhere to go. In Kenya, you're either with family, with friends, or you're out on the street.
And anecdotally, there is this, and for many years, there is this perception that when children are orphaned, they literally are just turned out onto the street, and that's where they survive or don't survive, I guess.
Yeah. And there are lots of private orphanages out there. So lots of people have responded to the need. So New Hope started as a 4-bedroom house, and at the time it only took in girls. And initially there was 20 girls living in that 4-bedroom house.
Is that because girls are more at risk?
That's a really good question. To be honest with you, I don't know whether that was the driver. I think Anne started off taking in girls because in a 4-bedroom house with a mixture of boys and girls, it could get complicated. Yeah. So I think it started off. It was only when we managed to expand New Hope to a much bigger capacity. Yeah. So the old place is still part of the new place, if that makes sense.
Oh, right.
So they built around it. And it's now typically at any one time can be home to over 120 children.
Goodness.
So yeah, it kind of morphed into something much bigger, and it's now sort of home to the boys and girls.
Right. To our listener who is not used to the background noise of adverse weather, can I just tell you, we're in the middle of a hoolie here, and it might get worse. But so we'll if it does, Colin, we'll just talk louder.
Absolutely.
Did they get? Was the house actually granted to them, or
the house was gifted originally by some local person who gifted them the house?
Okay.
We raised enough to build what is now the main building. Back in 2007, a team of, it was 8 to 10 of us, did Amsterdam Marathon and raised £12,000, wow, which built the original big orphanage where we could really expand the capacity.
Right.
So yeah, it's.
And since then, you've been doing lots of marathons and lots of other fundraising to keep the thing, growing the thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've, over the years, not only have we built at New Hope, prior to Oak Ridge School, and Oak Ridge School is the school that's now in the grounds of New Hope.
Right.
Prior to that, we built classrooms at the local state schools, built toilets, we provided water. So we've done a whole raft of things across the whole community. That includes putting electricity in and sinking a borehole so we could get water for the orphanage. And so there's some really practical things.
Yeah.
There's been some, so if it was raining like this in Kenya now, there's a mass of water butts, I guess, but massive ones. So they harvest all the water that they can every time it rains. So yeah, there's a raft of things that we do in terms of practical things around water and around the electricity supply, I guess, as well.
And you got involved because?
I'll just blame Val, I think. So Val is the inspiration behind so much of this.
Okay.
Val worked with me at Barclays Bank when I worked there and won a chairman's award for work she'd done in the Northwest around some vulnerable people in the Northwest and trying to help them out. She went to the chairman's awards for Barclays in London, and when she was there she met Anne, who'd won the international award for the work she did in Kenya at New Hope. Val came back and said, we've got to do something. There's all these kids don't know where the next meal's coming from. We need to do something. So she turned us all into activists, I guess. And
absolutely.
And ever since
Metaphorically got the T-shirt and that's it. You just signed up for it, weren't you?
Yeah, we did the marathon and we've done so much stuff since then. Been out there 5 times now.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And, going again this summer. So it's, it gets under your skin.
It's an important part of your life now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what does a typical day look like for a young person at New Hope, Colin?
So I don't know if I know what a typical day looks like, but I can say what a day looks like when we're there. So we'll stay in the visitors' accommodation. We'll be lying there and we'll hear them from about 5 o'clock. They'll be singing. So the girls will have got up to make breakfast. So the kitchen, which is next to our room typically, you'll hear the singing. And the singing is beautiful, but every morning at 5 o'clock can be a challenge. They then, before Oakridge, they would disappear off around about 7 because some of them would have miles and miles to walk to get to school. So they would go to all the schools in the local area. Now they're at Oakridge, I'm assuming that because the journey's a lot less, maybe the timings are slightly different. They then spend all day in school, same as you'd expect in the UK. They come home. When we're there, quite often we'll have activities organised, and that could be, in the past it's included football matches, when we've taken lots of youngsters out. I'm not sure I'm up to playing football against them anymore.
Surely.
But then they'd have like evening shows. Sometimes we'd put music on, so we might have taken speakers with us, and like our boys would put music on, and everyone would be just singing and dancing, and it'd just be, and then we'd go to bed absolutely shattered at about 9 o'clock. But if you ever popped your head back out in the hall, there'd be loads of them sat there doing homework. And that would be all the time we were there.
So the day, in 3 words, is probably singing, learning, partying.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think the partying's probably a little bit of a novelty.
Because you're there.
Because we're there. Yeah. But they put on such a show and such a welcome whenever you're there. And they want you to, have the best time that you possibly can.
More of a sort of a searching question here, and that is, people often worry that because obviously I think the UK is known very much for its charitable approach to so many different good causes, but there is a consensus that so many people also, or equally, worry about where the money's going and how is it being tracked, and is there an audit control within New Hope, or is it that they spend what they get as soon as they get it and just wait for the next rain?
So if I talk about sort of probably at 3 levels. So first off, we're New Hope support group. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we channel all our money through Hand in Hand, which is a registered UK charity who do all the legal requirements. And then the third part is obviously how New Hope control it and so on. So for New Hope support group, every single penny we raise ends up at New Hope. So we don't have any expenses. We're all volunteers. So if you donate £10, £10 ends up at New Hope.
Right.
And we've always run it like that. Part of the reason we're not a registered charity and that we use Hand in Hand.
I'm just about to ask whether you were.
Yeah. No, so part of the reason that we do that, or a big part of the reason, is they've already got overheads in terms of making sure they satisfy the Charities Commission and so on. So it's just a little bit of an add-on for them. Whereas it'd mean we'd have to employ people to do all those things if we weren't careful.
Yeah.
Or find a volunteer who's got an awful lot of hours to actually do all that.
Absolutely.
So the first thing is every single penny goes to New Hope.
Okay, good.
The second thing, if you look at Hand in Hand, the way that we help with their funding is if you make a donation through Just Giving and claim gift aid, the donation of £10 goes to New Hope. The £2.50 or whatever the tax element is back on the gift aid, that goes to Hand in Hand to help with their running costs. So We're always really transparent about that.
Yeah.
You know, if you donate £10 and give gift aid,
Yeah.
the gift aid goes to Hand in Hand.
Which is really it's just a sort of an aside, but that's the importance. You should always do gift aid whenever you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then in terms of New Hope, you know, if we say that we're going to do something big, so recently we built a computer and science lab, for example.
Yeah.
You can see the computer and science lab. We'll see it when we're out there. We've seen pictures of it. We've seen the children in the science lab. So you can see the physical well-being. On the flip side of that, say if we're putting lots of money in for the education, whether they spend it on new exercise books, new uniform, teachers' salaries, whatever, we're not overly fussy about where they spend it as long as the children get the education. So we do know how much they're spending. We do have a rough idea where they spend it, but they've got to make they've got to make the decisions on the ground day in, day out as to where they are best spending the money.
That's great.
To get the best.
And that will be very reassuring to anybody who either supports New Hope now or is thinking of doing in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So because New Hope is there by the grace of visitors and good open hearts and love, what's something that visitors and supporters are usually surprised by when they get to see New Hope up and close?
I think the thing I hear most commonly, and the thing that probably struck me when I went. So let's not make any bones about it. Some of the children there have got horrific stories and have been through some terrible, terrible experiences in their lives. And we don't need to go into sort of what those are, but you know, some of the stories I get in terms of children that we're being asked to sponsor, we tone them down before we send them out to sponsors because we're like, flipping heck, it's just, you know, the sorts of things that we would just be horrified by.
Yeah.
But when you get there, it's such a happy place. They've got so little, and it is such a happy place. You get out of, you know, however you've got up to New Hope, you get out of the vehicle, and you're just surrounded by happy, smiling faces. And for all the time you're there, you've got children holding your hand, sat on your knee, having piggybacks, and just, you know, massive, big, smiling, happy faces all the time you're there.
And I guess the visitors sort of, when they get back in the car and go back to the airport, they've got a smile from ear to ear. They never stop smiling.
I was going to say for the visitors, sometimes it depends on the individual. I've found it quite difficult leaving a few times. Really? Just because, you've been there, you've had a great time, and then you're saying goodbye to them, and you don't know when you're next going to be able to afford to go again. Because again, we fund all our trips out ourselves. Again, nothing comes out of any money raised. It's all individually funded. So you kind of like, I wonder when we'll be able to afford this again. And it does get under your skin, and you kind of, sometimes it's, you know, like you're a bit sad to leave somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And
you've got that emotional attachment.
And why not admit that that's the same with this? As it may be with a 2-week fancy holiday in the Seychelles. So there's clearly, I mentioned in the overview that the community is so very important, and there's a real community connection. It's even coming through from this far on the podcast already. So you came up with this Abersoch Bob hat idea. Why?
I guess on many mornings, maybe having the odd cup of tea and even a sausage butty sat on the beach, we talked about, wouldn't it be great if there was something whereby we could sort of say we're Dunkers? And we did, obviously last summer, we did all sorts of sporting events, from the tug of war to the She Ultra to the trail run to the triathlon. So many Dunkers did so many different things, and we started thinking about, do we do some sportswear or something? And conversations went on, and it was, how do we design a logo, and how do we make sure that we're doing something that everyone feels part of? And the bobble hat just felt like the easiest idea. It was starting to head towards autumn. It was relatively easy to do, relatively easy to design. We didn't need a logo. the colours kind of spoke for themselves. So I kind of just thought, let's just go for it. And I was kind of hoping that we might sell 50. So to sell as many as we did was just awesome.
This is a bit of a rhetorical thing in a way. It's because I was going to say, how do you feel when you realised that your cold water swimming group in North Wales was part of funding Christmas in Kenya? It must have been...
The pictures and the videos are just amazing. And yeah, we talk about funding Christmas. So I think we sent about £720 out on the back of the work we did with the Dunkers, which was just fantastic. Yeah. So it's £700 that we wouldn't have been able to send. And we got Christmas treats for the grannies and the grandparents. We got Christmas treats for the staff. And when we say Christmas treats, this was maize flour, wheat flour, cooking oil, salt, and in some instances we even gave some matches out. So it's kind of, it's not quite the sort of thing I was opening up on Christmas Day.
No.
So
and our listener is probably the same, but it's a very salutary thing to hear.
Yeah. So we did that, and then you talk about the children, and the children got meat. So they got different types of meats. They had beef and chicken and sausages. Apparently they had some popcorn, which they enjoyed hugely. There was some chocolate floating around. And then they kept some of the money back to set off fireworks on New Year's Eve.
Right.
And it's the first time they've ever done it. So Anne, who runs New Hope, who's now in her late 70s, first time she'd ever seen fireworks.
Wow.
And
Goodness.
She was terrified.
Was she?
So she said her and a lot of the other older ladies didn't have a cup of tea because they were that terrified. They just went back and the fireworks had gone off, and that was that evening over.
So, and the impression that would have made on those kids, as well as Anne and her colleagues, is quite awesome. Really.
If you listen to the video, the squeals of delight from the kids again, it wasn't like a mega firework display. It was a few rockets going off and a few bangs here and there. But first time they'd ever seen them, absolutely amazing.
And I guess that the New Hope Bob hat became more than just a fundraiser, didn't it? In a way, it was a tangible shared symbol that mattered. And it makes you wonder why those shared tangible symbols aren't used more in fundraising, rather than just a sort of a caption on the end of an advert, which has cost tens of thousands to actually put up. What's the next Bob hat then?
I mean, there's a whole host of things that are on our list of things that they want us to raise money for, if we can do. So if we talk about sort of the things we might be raising money for, and then we can move on to things we're either doing or not doing. I think I probably also just wanted, you talked about community and so on.
I did.
There was a couple of things that sort of, as we distributed the bobble hats, one was I sent pictures of all the Dunkers on the beach wearing the bobble hats to Africa. I think Anne's a little probably confused as to why we feel the need to go in the cold water, but she's seen the pictures and she's seen, alone, she? Absolutely. But she's seen the pictures and she's, seen that community helping her community. The other thing is we're going to take 2 hats out to Kenya with us. So Claire and I bought a couple of extra hats to take out to Kenya.
So Anne's going to get one?
Absolutely. And they love to wear a bobble hat.
Right.
Doesn't matter how hot it is, they love a bobble hat.
Really?
We'll be absolutely sweltering, and they'll all have bobble hats and gloves on.
Okay, so another shared symbol.
Absolutely. The Dunkers bobble hat will find its way to Kenya.
So although community might be almost feeling, the cynics could say community could be almost something that's dying over here in some ways. It certainly isn't when it comes to Kenya, is it?
No, and the whole community, if there's anything happening in the community, the whole community gets behind it. I think, we've been going since 2011, and I've got to know a lot of people out there. And unfortunately, some people have passed away in that time. But the whole community comes together. So if someone needs money to help bury their loved one, the whole community chips in, and they'll all do fundraising and they'll all do things to help. I see a lot of parallels in terms of the support, etc., with the Abersoch community, if I'm honest. We feel so welcomed here. It's like our second Kenya almost.
Right, that's great to hear. Yeah. I mean, it's. I suppose we're aware of it, but when because we're in the heart of it, and we haven't got the optics that you've got, because you sort of come in spasmodically. Forgive me, but you're not here every day.
No.
So it's great to hear that the community spirit is so strong here. That must make a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. We spent most of last summer here, so right. I think that tells its own story.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So New Hope generally, even though it's a children's home, it's pretty progressive one way or another. And it seems, you mentioned a computer lab. So this computer lab, tell me a bit about it, and is it going to change lives? Is it something, because, there is the cynic in me would say there is a certain sort of headline that says, oh, we've got a computer lab, and you've got 10 screens and 10 desks, and they never ever get filled.
So, okay, how to respond to that? I guess the first thing is the computer lab we feel is going to be a game changer. If you look at the number of schools in Kenya that currently have computer labs, there's a few in Nairobi, but as far as we're aware, not many outside Nairobi. Okay. So to give the children the opportunity to learn how to do basic things on a computer, whether that just be Microsoft Office, use Microsoft Word, or even more complicated things, should hopefully make them more employable. And the whole idea of the education is to break the cycle of poverty by giving people skills that they can use, to get jobs in the future.
Right.
So the whole ethos has always been about let's drive education as the way to break the cycle of poverty. The computer lab is probably the next step on from that.
Right.
So we're extremely hopeful. At the moment, the computer lab is built. We're just having the desks made, so it's cheaper to have them made bespoke by someone locally than buy from a shop. So we're just waiting for those to be finished. Once those are finished, the computers will be bought. All the money's in place to do this. So, yeah, hopefully by the time we're out there, it'll have been up and running a good few months, and the kids will be starting to see the benefit of it.
And this has been presumably quite a long-term project, is it?
Yeah, probably we managed to secure a grant from a charitable foundation who want to remain anonymous.
Okay, fair point.
So we managed, and that's probably about 2 years ago now. We've had all sorts of challenges in terms of getting the building completed and doing it within budget, etc. But the progress.
The lab is really a new build lab. It's
absolutely.
It's not a conversion of an old classroom or an old downstairs living room.
We knocked down the old library and created a science lab, a computer lab, and a new library. And it's, the pictures we've seen, I've not seen it personally yet, but the pictures we've seen are amazing.
Right.
And kind of look way out of, kilter with anything we've managed to do previously.
Yeah. And the fortunate thing that you keep winning grants, small, large, or whatever. And you've got quite a sort of a monthly subscription, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, the main way that we raise money would be through the monthly sponsorship. So you can sponsor a child for £7.50 a month, and that guarantees them their education. We've got sponsors for virtually every child at New Hope. If the child doesn't have a sponsor, we still sort of work out a way of finding the money to make sure that they get the education. So it's not like, you've not got a sponsor, therefore you're not getting any education. And wait till we find a sponsor. So, periodically we do appeals for sponsors, but we've always got children needing sponsors. So it's, an ongoing thing. We also get sponsors for grandparents and families, and that's £10 a month. And that's about providing food and basics just so that they can eat and survive without worrying
and
too much.
£10 a month will give them that sustenance for a month.
Some of the bigger families we might have 2 or 3 sponsors for, so that might be £30 a month.
Yeah.
But the basic premise is £10 a month will make a big difference and keep them away from,
poverty. Yeah.
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 And then we have a teacher sponsorship piece, which we've tended to aim at schools and businesses. It's one of those I think we're still finding our way on, but that's typically around about £1,800 a year. But that pays a teacher's salary for the year.
Right.
So, which makes a big difference, obviously.
It would.
And then we do various fundraisers throughout the course of the year to fill gaps in budgets, and it might be that there's a special one-off that we need to raise money for. It might be that we've done it for medical fees in the past when children have got ill and we've had to pay the medical fees. We've done it to build New Hope as it is. We've done it to build toilets, provide water, provide electricity. You name it. We've kind of, since 2006, we've funded it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because one of the things that was, again, we just sort of talked about off air was about this school uniform appeal. And it's sort of resonated with me a bit because it went through my head. And I was going to ask you, why do you think that uniforms are such a critical, but probably often overlooked piece of the education puzzle?
Oof. I wasn't expecting that question. So, in terms of the uniforms, etc., in the past, we've always taken bits and pieces out with us when we've gone out.
Right.
So that can include jumpers, the traditional pinafore dresses. Is that what they're called? I don't know.
Right. Okay.
I don't know why we're having this conversation.
Let's not get too deep into detail here.
But jumpers, t-shirts. But, trousers, etc.
Clothing that would suffice as a uniform.
I guess you see the pictures of them at school.
Yeah.
And they all look so smart. And they all look so consistent. And it's not that they've all got the same uniform on, because it depends which school we've managed to get the uniform from. But, you'll have one class that's all in red and another class all in black jumpers and so on. But they do look so smart. And I kind of, in terms of that environment for learning, they put the school uniform on, go to school, even if it's on the same site as them now. And I think part of it's about setting a mindset, isn't it?
It is. It's a human connection, isn't it? And I think that, I know I almost tried to sort of answer my own question with this, and I think it's just that ability to belong, to be part of, and to sort of be pulling together in the same direction, because you look the same, you're out to look after other people the same as they're out to look after you, and a uniform really underlines that, doesn't it?
Yeah. I kind of, you go back to the mindset thing as well. Going when I went to work and I put my suit on to go.
There's your uniform.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So how do that brings us very nicely to the point of saying, how do people reach out to New Hope? Because there will be listeners who will think, I'm going to have a look at this. I want to dive a bit deeper into this. And so how do they do it? And then how do they get connected and commit them their $7.50 or the £10 or whatever a month?
So in the last day, we have launched.
Oh, wow.
We were kind of, after our last podcast, we did reflect that, saying, well, just message me, and that's, a great way of us progressing. Wasn't probably the easiest way for people to reach out. So we have now got a website.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's very functional. It tells you a little bit about New Hope, our different sponsorship schemes, and how to contact us about those.
Right.
If you're interested in reaching out, the website is www.newhopesupport, which is all one word. Yep. So NEWHOPESUPPORT. .co.uk. Okay. So newhopesupport.co.uk.
That's brilliant. Okay. So that's at least what we've talked about here is a range of different things that you're going to come up with. I'm not going to go into my sort of final part of our podcast without asking you for one or two of the most bizarre things that we would find bizarre that you're raising money for. I think I've got to throw out here rabbits.
Well, we've had a list of requests. So at this point, we haven't agreed what we're funding this year and exactly what we're going to do. If I look at the things that they've asked us for, well, last year, let's talk about last year quickly.
Yeah.
Last year, we managed to do the science lab, the computer lab. We put a biogas system in, and we put a new roof on. The new roof's going on as we speak.
Right. Now, I'm just going to interrupt and say this isn't anything to do with the monthlies, the $7.50 or the £10 a month, is it?
No.
These are special awards, effectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. No, those will all have been funded through additional fundraising activities that we've done. If I look at the things that we've been asked for this year, we've already mentioned school uniform. So they're looking to do something there. They want to make some repairs to the main building. So they want new flooring throughout, which would cost roughly £10,000. They want to paint the whole thing. So it's probably about 7-8 years since we painted it. And when I say we painted it, we provided the funds for someone to paint it. They're after smokeless stoves. So they're trying to move away to something more environmentally friendly. So at the moment they cook on wood. So for the 120 children, they've got a kitchen with wood stoves. So they're looking to move away from that to smokeless ones. And they've also raised the prospect of a rabbit project. And I'm not quite sure how to feel about this personally.
Okay.
But the idea is if they have a rabbit farm, they should be able to give the children more protein in their diet. So,
and presumably rabbits are fairly straightforward to look after.
I presume so.
Yeah. I suppose sort of cows and sheep aren't really an option, are they?
No, they have done pigs in the past.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that worked reasonably well.
Right.
Not quite sure why they stopped doing it, but there must have been a good reason at the time.
Yeah.
But we have raised money for pigs in the past. We did at one point provide dairy cows to a number of people. But that then just damaged the business of the local milkman. So that wasn't our greatest. It's one of those unforeseen.
Impacts which you couldn't guess, could you? Until it actually
happened, and then the local milkman wasn't quite so pleased with us. So
there's a number of things that you are challenged to deliver through fundraising if you can is that a 26-27 project, or
it's probably a 2026? I mean, we're still talking to New Hope about sort of where their priorities lie. The other thing that's been mentioned is potentially underwear.
Okay. Underwear?
Yeah, really? Underwear for 120 children. Because I'm not quite. I think it's
this is a thing, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done it in the past. In the past, we may have taken some out with us in our luggage to distribute. It's quite difficult to get 120 kids worth of underwear in your bag. So we're potentially talking
smuggling them in, have you?
So not smuggling, Mark.
Okay. With the grace and goodness of the customs, you've actually absolutely it's been allowed in. Yeah. Okay.
But we've also we're thinking, do we need to fund something there as well? Because it's been a good few years since we've done that, and then you can buy them locally as opposed to bring them in as well.
Sure.
So it starts to spread some of the money around as well. Because again, it's always better if you can buy something out there, because then someone else benefits from it as well as New Hope.
But am I going to sort of try and stitch this together, excuse the pun, and say if there is an underwear manufacturer out there who's got a real interest in working with New Hope, they could provide some samples or some product that direct and with their label on?
I'll say yes.
Okay.
There's a number of, as always with these things, there's a number of challenges dependent upon how much stuff and all the rest of it. How do you get it into the country?
Yeah.
Containers we've done in the past, but it is a little bit of a lottery getting it through customs.
Right.
But I'd absolutely be open to any conversation, and then we can work out the practicalities of how we make it work.
You would need a brief.
Indeed, dearie me.
You can tell this is getting to the end, can't you? So, just before we sort of start to sign off, is there a moment? Because for you, I can tell it's your whole passion is into New Hope. You're completely and utterly bought into this. Is there a moment, a special moment, small or ordinary, that still stops you in your tracks when you think about New Hope and how they work and how it matters?
I think there's probably big things and little things. So we've had a number of people that were at New Hope for a variety of reasons. One's like gone on to be an air, hostess, stewardess, whatever the correct phrase is these days.
No, I don't know.
Another one's teaching in the States. We've got countless doctors and nurses and teachers. And so you all those things are fantastic, because then you see the knock-on effect in terms of the impact it has on the rest of the family, because they're then earning. They can buy a plot of land, build a house.
Yeah.
We've had families move out of the grandparents' villages that we built, and move into their own properties, which is just
the real succession.
Yeah. So it's that whole sort
absolutely. Yeah, sure.
So I was going to say circle of life, but
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you kind of got all those things that kind of give you that nice, warm, fuzzy. We're making a difference. We're giving people the opportunities, and they're grabbing those opportunities. It's then little things as well. I guess we when we stop at New Hope, it's in an area called Uplands, which is 40 kilometres north of Nairobi, and it's near to what they call the viewpoint, which overlooks the Rift Valley.
Yeah, Rift Valley.
Yeah. So you walk up this hill, and you've got this magnificent view across the Rift Valley. So we generally go there, and we could go with some of the older children. They'll sort of, make sure we know where we're going and that we're looked after. And when we get there, we'll buy them all a bottle of Coke or Fanta or something like that from one of the local stores. Now, we're sort of thinking nothing of it. We've drank ours in about 2 seconds flat because it's hot and we're warm. And they drink half theirs and keep the rest for later. Except when we were walking back, we bumped into some of their friends from school, and they were sharing it with them. So they've got so little, but they're happy to share it. Yeah. And you're kind of like...
And they'll do that over a fizzy drink.
Absolutely. And we, this massively prized, oh my word, I've got a fizzy drink. Yeah. I'm going to save it, but I'll share it with my friend.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, took my breath away when I saw it. I was kind of... Wow.
And it's awesome because it's so almost meaningless to us.
Yeah.
But it's so meaningful for them, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So my penultimate question to you is, what would you say to someone who thinks that their individual contribution is too small to make a difference?
I'd say, first off, is whatever contribution you're able to make, every single penny of it goes. So it's not like we've got a CEO that's, got a big salary to be paid before we send any money. So that'd probably be the first thing I'd say. Second thing is, we talk about education at £7.50 a month. Is that 2 coffees?
Yeah.
A month?
That's
to me and you,
respect. Yeah. Relative value.
So, that makes a huge difference. So, if you don't go to the coffee shop a couple of times each month, whatever you can do makes a huge difference. I mean, we've talked about £10 a month being enough to keep people away from going hungry. It just shows how a small sum of money can go an awful long way. We suggest a minimum donation of £7.50 for child sponsorship, but if someone wanted to do something less, we're never going to turn around and say that's not enough.
No,
because like I say, every penny goes.
Because if you're breaking the cycle of poverty, the smallest amount, the odd pound or two, will start that off, won't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. With 2,000 charities in this Podcasthon 26. It's the fourth time that we've the organisers have organised this. This is obviously Dunkers Podcast first time. What makes we want to stand out? We want our Dunkers Podcast and New Hope to stand out. What would you say New Hope quietly stands for, over and above anything else?
So New Hope is... We've talked about community at length. I guess for the individuals, it's giving them a chance. And that's all we're doing, is giving people a chance to break that cycle of poverty. I mean, poverty isn't sort of isolated to small areas or anything like that. It is sort of, all over the place. But we're giving one corner of Kenya an opportunity to break that cycle. Children who've had some of the most horrible things happen to them have got a chance to break that and break out and have an opportunity for a much better life than they would have had if we didn't get involved. We've educated hundreds and hundreds of children in the years I've been involved. So, I just say it is that opportunity to help break the cycle of poverty and give people a chance. And that's all it is a chance. Some will grab it, some won't. And as the same in any walk of life.
Isn't it? Yeah. And if New Hope was going to write a letter to Abersoch Dunkers, I'm going to bring it back, because Abersoch Dunkers is the flag here. Yeah. What would they say? What would they say?
Apart from asking for a bobble hat each.
Okay.
I just think, Anne's words when she wrote to me about the fireworks, saying, even at 77 years old, I'm still learning and experiencing new things. It's never too old to learn. That kind of resonated with me as a really nice sort of thought and ethos and all the rest of it. And Anne is such, I guess, the life and soul of any party.
Right.
I think, what would they say to the Dunkers? I think they'd be so thrilled. And you've seen some of the stuff I've put on some of the chats in terms of...
I think most of us just lap it up as soon as they or you post it.
Yeah. They'd just be so appreciative of what we've done. They know
the difference that we've
and all we've done is bought some bobble hats.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'd like to say, on behalf of all the Dunkers, I think we wear them with a lot of pride, which is great. Thank you, Colin, very much indeed. It was, it's really, really important for the Dunkers and more importantly for New Hope to sort of get under the skin of what makes them separate and what makes them different. And I think I'd sort of try and wrap this up in a way for our programme and say that if the episode that you've just listened to resonates as part of the Podcasthon, you don't need to do everything. You just need to do two things. The first is, early in this year, New Hope launches a school uniform appeal. We've talked about that. We've talked about the pride and the esteem that the uniform can give to kids. And they all deserve it and they all need it. Because a uniform means dignity, confidence, and the simple ability to show up and learn. And I think that's exactly what Colin was saying. And if you have enjoyed the podcast, we're on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and look for the episode. It's obviously got New Hope Podcasthon in the title, or you can go to podcasthon.org. That's podcasthon.org. Bit of an odd word to try and explain, but you'll find the links in the show notes. So what's my closing reflection? Having sat here, I was exposed to New Hope back in June with Colin, and where are we now? I guess cold water teaches us something simple. You don't ease in by yourself, you go together. This episode reminds us that community doesn't stop at the shoreline, and when people show up consistently, even small acts can travel a very long way. Why does this matter? I guess in a world where big campaigns and distant causes are right at the forefront of our minds, this episode demonstrates how everyday communities can meaningfully fully support children's futures through connection, creativity and sustained care. Once again, many thanks, Colin. Really enjoyed talking to you today. And from Abersoch to New Hope, thank you for listening, and may the spirit of the Dunkers go with you.